I want those listening to hear where we are now and what it looks like. And it also gives you guys an insight that I really am living what I teach, because there's a lot of counselors and marriage experts that don't have healthy marriages, aren't living what they teach. And that's a value and something that's been really important to me, is to be a true teacher. Hello, I'm Karen Seitz, and this is the Happy Wife School. This podcast is for married women to realize that we are responsible for our happiness, that no one and no thing can make us happy, and that our husbands are not the source of our unhappiness. In each episode, I red pill married women to know that we are the problem in our marriages to good men. For the good men, this podcast will wake you up to the realities of your wife's woman ways, to take back the power you've unknowingly given away to her emasculation in a constructive, caring way. Before we dive into today's episode, a couple reminders. My message is meant for common and usual marital issues. My podcast is not intended for abusive, violent, or compulsive behaviors in a marriage that are threatening or dangerous. Also, please take a second to visit my website and learn more about my courses, which offer solutions for married women and good men. You can find the link in the description below. With all that being said, let's get started. Hello and welcome to the Happy Wife School show. I have a very special episode today with a very special guest, my husband, Adam. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Help people to understand what you do and the kind of work you've been doing recently.
I'm a plumber. I started out doing residential new builds and kind of shifted my focus over the past year. And now I'm doing a lot of work up in the mountains in Colorado, doing more like service-oriented work and still doing new builds whenever we can fit those in. Over the past 2 months, I've been up on Kenosha Pass. It's very, very cold. And basically what we're doing is they had an old cabin, probably built back in the 40s, 50s, something like that, ancient little thing. And they're putting a 5,000 square foot addition onto that thing. And so it's been quite a job. It's kind of tough to take the old and kind of try and marry it with the new, putting entire like new heating systems and everything like that. And the past 3 weeks I've spent in a very, very cold, very rocky and painful crawl
Yeah.
space, crawling around on my hands and knees, installing heating systems and all the plumbing systems there. So.
Yeah. You've been a
uh,
trooper. I'm so proud of
Oh.
you.
It's hard work. It's
It's
probably
really
some of the harder
hard.
work I've done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Adam's described like the crawl spaces that he has to go into are small and full of gravel, and you're maybe gonna,
Sometimes animals.
and sometimes animals in
Yeah.
there. Well, as Adam and I talked about, like, how are we going to do this and what's the format of the video, some of you, the audience, submitted some questions to Adam, mostly about kind of our journey to get to where we are now, and what I talk about being in the dance and having a very happy, healthy marriage and relationship together. But as we were going over those questions and Adam trying to think through what were things like and what was the journey to get here and what was it like being with me in my woman ways back before I made some changes and began working on myself. Adam, what was your experience trying to think on those questions and thinking of things what they used to be like, I don't know, like 7, 8 years ago or so?
Uh, my my response to actually most of those questions were pretty well the same across the board, in that maybe it's a blessing that we don't we don't really remember those things. Those things happened a long time ago. I'm not really the kind of person to try and carry that stuff around with me and try and remember and hash that stuff back up.
Mhm.
Um, Most of that stuff I've just kind of put to the side, kind of laid down to rest, and it's not who we are now. So really, really no sense in dredging any of that mess up.
Yeah. That's what we came to and what we talked about. And when you say we're not really the kind to dwell in the past and think of those things. I'm assuming you mean like knowing yourself as a good man, and that as a good man, and what I talk about a lot, you got a short memory once your wife is kind and accepting of you.
Yeah, it kind of flushes it all out. So
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And
bless you.
as a woman, I remember, and I have certainly, I'll say I don't so much anymore, but I used to for a little bit say things like, remember when I used to do this, or I used to be cold, or I used to be what I call like the nice bitch. And you've often answered like, not not really.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's real and true.
yeah.
And so what we decided to really focus on and talk about today is more so about the dance we have. And there's a couple questions where we might talk a little bit about the past, but that's really not going to be the direction of mine and Adam's conversation today. We really want to and came to the conclusion of what feels really good and a lot more natural to us. And what's important to me to share with all of you is really what our dance looks like. And when a woman, and kind of reiterating my message a little bit for the men listening and for the women listening, that I had to understand that I was the problem. That Adam, as I often say, is a wonderful man. And while he would say and knows he's not perfect and I'm not perfect, he loves me. He is thoughtful, considerate of me, respectful of me, wants me to be happy, and doesn't want problems in the relationship. He wants things to go well and for us to have a healthy relationship together. So I had to recognize that I was the problem in the relationship, and that as a woman and my own unhappiness and my own insecurities in myself, that I was pushing Adam, and even though we're not going to spend a lot of time there, but in my woman ways, emasculating and manipulative in the relationship. And I was the kind of woman that could do that with a smile on my face, which was very confusing about what was going on because it seemed like everything was okay. But Adam will share here in just a little bit. It didn't feel okay. And as I worked on myself to show up differently, my good man was right there waiting for me. And the issues and challenges we did have just really over a little bit of time just seemingly disappeared. And he was right there waiting for me, always the man that I married. And that's what allowed us to come together. So my hope is for the women listening, our conversation today and talking about our dance, that you recognize it's not anything your husband has to do to change the issues in the marriage or to solve them. It's us, that we have to change and we have to drop our walls and we have to take back the responsibility of our happiness so that we can have a happy marriage, because that's all a good man wants is for us to be happy. And when I became happy, things changed a lot. And so that's why we want to focus on that, and why I want those listening to hear where we are now and what it looks like. And it also gives you guys an insight that I really am living what I teach, because there's a lot of counselors and marriage experts that don't have healthy marriages, aren't living what they teach. And that's a value and something that's been really important to me, is to be a true teacher. And I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I stumble in a much lesser degree than I used to. And Adam's really good about calling me out when he needs to, but doesn't have to too often. But that's where we're going today. So, Adam, how would you describe our marriage and what it's like for you now, and being with me as a woman who is happy in herself?
Again, I would say it just makes things a lot simpler, a lot
Yeah.
easier, you know, in your day-to-day life. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity out there for conflict.
Yeah.
There's plenty of opportunity for conflict, and it's nice that I can come home to someone and not have to, you know, walk on eggshells, turn the corner and expect, some sort of like unnecessary conflict to come up.
Yeah.
It just it's sensible. That's how I would describe our relationship. It's just very, very simple, sensible. It makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Going a little bit back in to how things were before, knowing now things are just simple and they make sense to you and you're not coming home walking on eggshells. How would you feel before me coming home or you coming home? What was your internal experience as a man and a husband?
You're always waiting for the ball to drop, I guess is yeah,
Yeah.
the feeling that I have. Yeah, you're always waiting for the ball to drop. Okay, when am I going to get in trouble? It's
Yeah.
like something you develop in a childhood and you just get to carry with you your entire life. Is that like, yeah, I'm going to walk around a corner and I'm going to be in trouble for something I don't even know what I did.
Yeah. Yeah. That was very much the environment I created in my woman ways. And it is our intention that we have to see as women, that is our intention to create that kind of environment, unfortunately, because it puts us in that control and feeling in control in the relationship and in control of our husbands. How would you talk about the dance we have in our marriage? Or how you would describe it? I use the word dance, but how would you describe it and what's that like for you?
Yeah. Essentially, it's how we move together throughout our days that we spend together, and very, very supportive. That would be the first
Mhm.
thing that comes to mind is that we always have one another's best interest in mind at the same time without flushing ourselves down the drain or anything like that. It's like how can I live my life the way I would like to, and how does that move along, parallel to Karen's thoughts, feelings, and desires. And sorry, I forgot the question.
That's all right. That's all right. We were
I was doing
talking
so
about
well.
you're doing great. You're doing
Uh,
great. It's like I said, it's uncomfortable. It's all
yeah.
good.
But
We're
this is the really uncomfortable thing is that we're talking about something like intimate and people are going to be seeing
and
this.
people are
It's like,
gonna be seeing
holy
it.
crap.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll try and
Yes.
lighten up.
It's all good. We were talking about the dance
Yeah.
and how you would describe the dance or what that's like for you and moving in and out throughout our days.
Yeah. Supportive is the best way to describe it. We're very, very conscientious of one another, and while trying to take care of ourselves, live our lives the way that
Mhm.
she and I want to, how that works together with one another. It doesn't feel combative or anything like that. It's very, very, very supportive.
Yeah. And how might that look with an example like last weekend? And we always have these cool experiences where we have to do something and work together as a team. And then we're like, wow, that was so effortless. So last week, Adam and I
Yeah.
we had to move a storage unit. And we always like high five after and think, things like that because we're a team in it. And we have very much have this kind of effortless flow in it. And I think that's a good example, like to talk about the dance that we have together. What was that like for you?
Strong example. I love that example.
Yeah.
Is that yeah, there's no like, one person sitting off the side going, well, what do you think I should be doing right now? What should I be doing? It's like we enter into these scenarios. We both know exactly what our project ahead of us is, and we do it. There's no, kind of leaning on the other person. Guide me. Tell me what you think I should be doing right now. We enter into these situations, these scenarios, knowing exactly where we need to be at each point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's no bickering, there's no arguing or anything like that. There's no back talking or anything like that. Or I think we should do it this way, or that sort of thing. It's just freaking easy.
Yeah. That's that's where I've learned to zip it because Adam's being very gracious as a good man. If there was going to be a problem in that scenario, it would be me wanting to direct it and lead it. And no, do it this way. I don't like how you loaded that, or that would be me. So I've learned to zip it and very much without it even being overt. Adam kind of leads. in that, and I can know, okay, this is my role and this is my part in this, and we do it without even any discussion. It's really neat to watch. And that comes up also. We camp a lot in the summer and our dance together with camping and keeping our campground together and putting things up. It's like we each just jump in and know what to do.
Yeah, the breakdown of camping is perfect. I mean, it's like it's like flawless. Something that normally it would take a couple hours to do. It takes us like half an hour. She jumps in exactly where she needs to. I jump in where I need to. We get it done. We get it done quickly and easy, and no again, no bickering, nothing like that. So
Yeah. And I think this was something we had talked about a little bit last night in preparing to do this, where before that I had worked on my woman ways and how I was showing up in the relationship with you, I very much had the facade of being easygoing, calm, nice, not having to stick up my butt. But Adam's experience was very different in that. And how would you describe what that was like, where I pretended all of those things and pretended to be happy and everything was good? Because there's a lot of men watching who get caught up in that confusion of like, my wife isn't awful. She's a good person. I love her, yet I feel like I'm in trouble. I feel like an underlying anxiety. I do walk on eggshells, what's going on. So, how would you describe first what it was like for you as a man in the relationship, me and that facade, and then how can you tell the difference now?
I guess I would use the word like disingenuous. You can feel that. You can feel that underlying like, oh, she's got a smile on her face. Things must be okay, but why do I feel this anxiety inside of myself? Why do I still feel like, again, coming back to the when is this ball going to drop? This just doesn't really feel cohesive. And I would say the biggest difference is that like the anxiety is gone around that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'm not waiting for something bad to happen. Or when is this facade going to break down?
Yeah.
When is it going to come crumbling down and I get to see the real thing that's happening underneath here?
So you can feel the genuineness now, and you know that because of your own internal experience in the
Exactly. Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. I can go into myself and feel what I'm feeling, and I can tell there's a massive difference in that. Like I can be in this scenario and I'm calm and I feel safe to be calm and relaxed in my
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah. Or that wasn't so much the case
Not so
before.
much the case.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think, something in the dance as well that I think is good to talk about, because my message can be confusing to some of, well, are you just saying, that men are perfect and have no issues or problems and women just are to blame for everything? But that's not what I'm saying. And I'll say that a lot. Like, it doesn't mean a good man is perfect or that he doesn't make mistakes or have limitations, but that his core and his demeanor and relationship with his wife is he loves her, he wants her to be happy, he doesn't want the issues, he's thoughtful, he's hardworking, he wants to take responsibility. And very much part of the dance, as I described, is an acceptance of each other and a tolerance of each other, not only just in our differences as humans, but also our differences as men and women. The duh statement that, yeah, we are different. We're wired very differently. So how would you speak to that of in your own just personal challenges as a man or just as a human? What's that like being with me as a wife who's learned? And again, I'm not perfect, and Adam will tell you that too, but in general, not judging you and letting you have your own journey in life and working through your own challenges. What's that like in the dance and marriage?
That kind of brings up two different things for me. First and foremost, I don't have somebody else in my way whenever it comes to working on what I need to work on for myself.
Mm.
I find that, when somebody's up on you and pushing you to do this and do that for yourself, it brings another element into that. into your problem, into the problem you're trying to correct for yourself. That really doesn't need to be there. It's
Mm.
just kind of a distraction. And the second aspect of that brings up is that I'm doing it for myself and I'm not doing it for somebody else.
Mm.
And I think that's really, really important in that if I do it for somebody else, I myself get lost in that process
Yeah.
and I don't have the strength within myself, or I don't build the strength within myself to do it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. So like what I'm hearing and understanding is without me harping on you and wanting you to change things about yourself because I will think that'll somehow make me happy or my life easier because that's very much how I used to be. You now can work on the challenges you have in yourself just for you because you don't feel that pull from me or that judgment from me that you need to change this for the marriage or you need to change this for me to be okay. That you can just do that for yourself. And that makes it a lot easier because you don't have somebody breathing down your neck and watching your every move and have you under a microscope.
Exactly. It makes things quieter, put it that way.
Yeah.
Makes things quieter. I can focus
Yeah.
on, correcting what I need to about myself, working on my problems and everything like that. There's no external noise going on.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And the other piece I said in that when I asked you that is I'm not perfect. I tell my audience that all the time. I usually say I'm not a machine and I am still a woman and I stumble sometimes. And even aside from that and being a woman in our relationship and the things I need to be responsible for myself, that I also have my own personal shortcomings and limitations that I work on and have to be aware of just for me. And so, what's that like on your side of me working through my own personal challenges or even woman ways that can come up sometimes in our marriage? What's that like for you in the dance and that acceptance of me?
If I'm getting the question right, what I would say is like if your focus is not on me and fixing me, then you have a lot more space, a lot more
Yeah.
time to focus on what it is you need to work on for yourself.
Yeah.
Did I get that pretty well?
Yeah.
Did I understand
Yeah.
that right? Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, now you have all the space, all the time, all the headspace, I guess, to take care of your own stuff.
Yeah. And some of my own personal challenges. I share vulnerably, I struggle with weight and more so with food and my own struggles, or certainly having to keep my own woman ways in check. And you see that from time to time. I try to do a pretty good job of working on that behind the scenes. We don't talk about that as much because those listening, it's not helpful to the relationship. And what do you, as a good man, as a woman, we have to really like stay in check of our judgments and of our husbands and the challenges they go through. But that's not my experience of you at all in our marriage. You are very accepting and understanding, and I never feel judged by you ever. And so, how does that work for you as a good man? And knowing I've got struggles or challenges and I'm not perfect, and how do you view me, and how are you able to stay so focused on the positive of me? Yeah.
It's kind of a silly question. The only reason I say that is why would you enter into a relationship and why would you allow yourself to fall in love with someone and care about somebody very, very deeply, but then want to go in and tear that person apart? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't resonate with me whatsoever. Why would I want to do that? I care for you, and I want to care for you. So yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Thank
It's
you.
silly.
That's
Yeah.
perfect. That's
Like anybody in a relationship, why would you enter into a relationship and then want to beat the hell out of each other?
yeah.
It's silly. It's silly.
It is silly. And thank you, Adam. That was a really perfect answer because I talk about that and something I alluded to just a moment ago is I don't discuss like, and I teach my students and my audience, especially to the women, do not share and talk about what's going on in your inner workings as a woman and the things that we have to overcome in ourselves, because a good man doesn't understand that. Like Adam, you just like perfectly said it. Like, why would I want to go into a relationship with someone I've fallen in love with, I care for deeply, and tear them apart? That makes no sense. And that's that just total difference in the struggles that it's really stemming from our unhappiness and ourselves and our own insecurities. That's nothing actually about our husbands, but that's where it gets directed. It doesn't make sense to a good man. It's not, Adam said it just so perfectly, like it's not in their wiring. And so that's why a good man is right there waiting for you, ladies. When you learn to be happy and you stop criticizing and judging and shaming and making your husband bad and wrong, he just is the good man that he is. And as we've talked about, it doesn't mean we're perfect or he's perfect and doesn't make mistakes, but he's not in the relationship to try to hurt or tear me down. He loves me and wants to focus on the good things. And I, as Adam said before, not putting words in his mouth, I make it easy by being okay in me, and then not putting my own stuff onto Adam anymore. So it's very special to just have a chance to talk about the journey we've been on and the relationship we do have. I couldn't do what I do and talk about what I talk about and have the experience and the depth of knowledge to share with people without you being who you are and being so gracious to let me share. And I've never felt like Adam was like, don't talk about this or don't talk about that. You give me pretty free rein and are pretty open to what I'm doing. So it's nice to share this with you, Adam, and be able to talk about and give my audience a sneak peek behind the scenes. Yeah, I love you very much. Thank
I
you.
love you too, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me. It's a good opportunity. So
you're very welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen today. If you haven't, go check me out on YouTube, Rumble, and X. You can find the links in the description below to connect with me there. For those women listening who know you are the problem and want a path forward to take responsibility and change your own inner turmoil and unhappiness, I have a course for women called the Happiness Program, which is the solution to the unhealthy relationship you have with yourself and the issues and challenges you have in your life and your marriage. You can find the link in the description below to apply for a free consultation with me. And for the good men listening who want a solution to take back the power you've unknowingly given away to your wife, I have a course for you too called the Marriage Rescue Course for Good Men Only that teaches you how to rebuild your strength and confidence as a good man so that you can navigate the relationship with your wife in a healthy, constructive way. Again, you can find the link in the description below to apply for a free consultation with me. Thank you again so much for listening, and I look forward to talking with you soon.